In 1998, neuroscientist Michael Merzenich published research that would change the way we understand the human brain. He demonstrated something that at the time was deeply controversial. The adult brain can change. New neurons can form. New connections can be built. Existing pathways can be strengthened or weakened based on what we practice thinking about. He called it neuroplasticity. And when I first read about it, I had one immediate thought. The Bible already told us this. Today I want to take you on a journey through the intersection of modern neuroscience and ancient scripture, because they are pointing at the same thing from different directions. Let's start with the science. Your brain contains approximately 86 billion neurons. Each neuron can connect to thousands of others, forming a network of roughly 100 trillion connections. Every thought you think, every memory you recall, every emotion you feel, it all runs on this network. Here is the key insight. Your network is not fixed. It is shaped by use. When you repeatedly think a certain thought, whether it's "I'm capable and loved" or "I always fail," the neural pathway associated with that thought gets stronger. Neurons that fire together, wire together. This is Hebb's rule, named after psychologist Donald Hebb. Repetition builds roads in the brain. The implications are staggering. It means that habitual thinking, positive or negative, is literally reshaping the physical structure of your brain. Your thought life is not abstract. It has real, measurable, biological consequences. Now let's look at what Scripture says. Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The word transformed in Greek is metamorphou. It denotes a structural change, not cosmetic but fundamental. And the mechanism Paul specifies is the renewing of the mind. 2,000 years before Merzenich, Paul was describing neuroplasticity. Be transformed, metamorphou, by the renewal, anakinosis, of the mind. Nous. The word nous in Greek refers to the intellect, the understanding, the faculty of perception and judgment, the totality of how you process and interpret reality. Paul is saying, your mind can be renewed, the patterns can change, and when they do, transformation follows. Let's go deeper into the science. Psychologists have identified something called cognitive schemas, or mental models. These are the frameworks through which you interpret experience. They develop early in life through repeated exposure to certain messages, environments, and relationships. A child raised with consistent messages of love and competence develops schemas like, the world is generally safe, I am capable, people can be trusted. These schemas become lenses that color everything they perceive. A child raised with abuse, neglect, or harsh criticism develops very different schemas. I am a burden. People will hurt me. I don't deserve good things. These schemas become so automatic that people don't even recognize them as beliefs. They experience them as reality. Cognitive behavioral therapy, one of the most evidence-based psychological interventions in existence, is built on a simple premise. Identify the distorted thought pattern, challenge it, replace it with a more accurate one. Repeat. Over time, the schema itself begins to change. Sound familiar? 2 Corinthians 10:5. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. Paul is describing, in first-century language, exactly what CBT therapists do in 21st-century offices. Identify the thought, evaluate it, bring it into alignment with truth. The Bible had the framework. Science is just now building the clinical studies. Let me talk about one more powerful concept, the default mode network. The default mode network, or DMN, is the part of your brain that activates when you are not focused on a specific task. It is your resting state, your autopilot. Research shows that the DMN is heavily involved in self-referential thinking, thoughts about yourself, your past, your future, your relationships. It is also heavily active during rumination, the painful habit of replaying negative memories or catastrophizing about the future. For people with depression and anxiety, the DMN tends to be hyperactive and stuck in negative loops. Here is what's fascinating. Mindful meditation, specifically the practice of deliberately redirecting attention, has been shown to reduce DMN hyperactivity. And Scripture has its own version of this, meditation on the Word. Psalm 1, 2, 3. But whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night? That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. Day and night meditation. Sustained, deliberate focus on truth. This is not passive reading. It is active, engaged dwelling in the Word. And neuroscience says that is precisely the kind of practice that rewires the brain. Joshua 1:8 echoes it. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. The ancient instruction for prosperity was not a financial strategy. It was a brain transformation protocol. Now let's talk about what this means for you practically. If you want to transform, if you want to break free from cycles of anxiety, shame, negative thinking, self-doubt, here is what the convergence of science and scripture tells you to do. First, become aware of your automatic thoughts. Track them, journal them, bring the subconscious to the surface. Second, challenge them ruthlessly. Is this thought actually true? What evidence contradicts it? What does God say? Third, replace them deliberately. This requires knowing what the truth is, which means you have to be in the Word. You cannot fight lies you don't know with truth you don't have. Fourth, practice consistently. Neuroplasticity is real, but it is not fast. New pathways require repetition. 30 days of deliberate practice can begin to shift even deeply entrenched patterns. Fifth, saturate your environment. What you expose yourself to shapes your baseline. Design your inputs, scripture, truth-based content, community that speaks life. The brain you have today is not the brain you're stuck with. The mind you have today is not the mind God designed you to have. He designed you for the mind of Christ, as Paul says in 1 Corinthians 2:16. A mind of clarity, peace, love, power, and wisdom. That mind is available. It is unlocked through the renewing process. And every day you engage with truth, you are one day closer to the transformation you were made for. Science confirms it, Scripture promises it, and God never breaks His promises. Comment transformed below if this connected for you. Share it with someone who needs to hear that their brain can change. And follow, because this channel exists to help you transform your mind and transform your life. Transform your mind. Transform your life. That is the mission.